Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I am excited to introduce you to my special guest. Her name is Melissa Armstrong. Her company is Holistic Health, and she is a health and wellness coach. So welcome to the show, Melissa. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about how you became a health and wellness coach. What was your journey from where you started in business or work or career, and how you ended up here?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I started my career in traditional nursing. I'm a nurse by trade. In 2010 is when I became licensed and started my nursing career. I always thought that I would work in the hospital. When you go to nursing school, that's kind of what you think you're going to do. And I quickly realized that professionally and personally, I wasn't being served by that system, that model, in the way that I thought that it should be. And I really had this come to Jesus where I was like, okay, well, what am I going to actually do? Because this isn't really, I think, what I want to do. And I spent a lot of years struggling with my own personal health stuff and struggling with my career. And over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, I really suddenly realized that there was this whole other sect, I guess, of medicine, which is like functional medicine, root cause, holistic, natural medicine. I started seeing a holistic practitioner personally, started processing through all the trauma that I had gone through, which was for me manifesting into a lot of physical symptoms. And yeah, that was kind of the journey.
It's so interesting how your mental health affects your physical health. And I love that you are also working toward more holistic health. I think that thankfully that's become more and more popular, and more people are realizing that it's important to treat not just the symptoms, but the cause of what's going on.
Absolutely. I think that it's so underappreciated. I think it was really underappreciated just how powerful the mind is and how much your emotional well-being impacts your physical well-being. And that's really what I've dedicated my life to now.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about how you work with your clients. Do you have a physical office? Do you do virtual? Tell us a little bit about that.
I am 100% virtual, but I will say I work with a lot of local clients. And when I do, I always give them the option to meet in person. So I focus, my signature program is called MENS. It stands for Mindset and Spirituality, Exercise, Nutrition, Detoxification, and Somatic Healing. Everything lifestyle, nutrition, detox. And then I use a lot of somatic experiencing in my work. So I teach people how to actually process through the emotion that's stuck in their body. A lot of times for, years or even decades. And with that and with all of the lifestyle stuff, I often am talking to people who say, yeah, I know I'm supposed to be eating healthy, but I don't even know what that means. What does that even mean? And so we'll meet at Costco or the grocery store and go through, spend an hour going through the aisles at the grocery store and explaining to them how to read a food label, or, these are the things that I would put in my cart and that kind of stuff. Or we'll meet. I live in beautiful Colorado. So while it's often, it's cold in the winter, we have more sunny days than California. So even when it's cold, you still have the sun, so you can get out and we have a lot of outdoor space. So we'll meet at the lake and go walk around the lake or meet at a coffee shop just so we can have that face-to-face interaction. But yeah, I work mostly one-on-one with clients. I do have some less high touch options when cost is an issue, but mostly work one-on-one with clients to help them move through that full mental, spiritual, emotional transformation that they're looking for.
I love that. I love that you actually go to the grocery store with them and that you meet them out at the park, because what could be a better way than meeting someone out in the open, surrounded by beauty, and talking about how to feel better and how to get your body to feel better. So I love that. I don't know if I've talked to anybody who does that.
The grocery store trips are a lot of I often hear feedback that's their favorite. When I get to the end of my time working with people, that's some feedback that I often get is I loved that trip to the grocery store. It was really impactful.
It can be so confusing because should you be keto? Should you, do intermittent fasting? Should you? And I don't know if there's one answer for everyone. Obviously you want to kind of stay away from the really overly processed foods and bring in more natural foods. But I just think people at this point are so confused because they're being told so many different things.
Totally. And then it's really intimidating when you're talking to somebody who doesn't have any experience with the actual interpretation of what they're putting in their mouth and what they're putting in their body. And I'm like, hey, so like flip over the box and read the food label. They're like, how do I even do that? What do you mean macros? How do I even find how much sugar is on the label? So like I found, and that's why I keep doing it, is that's just a really and memorable process for my clients to actually go and like look at the food labels with somebody standing right there, or like going into the fruits and vegetables section and actually looking at stuff. They're like, well, I don't buy that because I don't even know what it is. How do I use a jicama? I don't know I know what radishes are, but like, I don't know how to pick them out. So like, I'll teach people how to like pick out fruits and vegetables and how to use it in a way that, and I'm not that I'm an expert. I'm learning also, but yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I think that's a great exercise. So talk to me a little bit about who do you work with typically? Are they men, women, a certain age?
I work mostly with women, but I also do work with some men and kids. I work a lot with moms and kids who, I work with. People come to me in either one of two buckets. Women come to me with their kid. My kid is having XYZ symptoms. I'm really worried. I don't know what to do. The pediatrician's not helping. Or they come to me and they say, I feel awful. I hate my life. I'm not sleeping. I'm not eating well. My body feels sluggish. I have brain fog. I have XYZ symptoms. And we really approach it the same way, starting with the foundations. So, what are you eating? What does your lifestyle look like? What toxins are you being exposed to? What thoughts are you thinking? How is your spiritual health? How is are you moving your body? All the like foundational things. And it's really the same for kids, less it's more like toxins, nutrition, versus they're not moving their body because grow and tend to get into our habits and spend a lot of time sitting at the computer or in front of a screen or whatever. So yeah, I like to approach it like in a whole body, whole family approach. So I will help mom better herself and also better the lives of her children. And even if we make just one change, the whole family is going to benefit.
Yeah. How old are the kids typically? Are they littles or are they teenagers?
Yeah. I've worked mostly with like, I would say elementary school aged kids. Somewhere between 5 and 10 is a very common age for me to work with.
Excellent. So let's talk about a specific client. Tell me maybe your favorite story or your biggest success, or just somebody who touched your heart and how you help them gain clarity and feel better.
I will tell you, I just offboarded a client today, right before I got on with you. So I'll tell you about her. And her transformation was just incredible. She came to me with a myriad of physical symptoms. She had like, gastrointestinal issues, digestive issues, sleep problems, horrible stress and anxiety, like unmanageable stress and anxiety, lots of complex family issues, family dynamic issues with her own personal family, her husband's family, her husband and her are both, this is not their first marriage. So there was all these, added dynamics with stepchildren. And she was absolutely miserable and could not tolerate the level of stress that she was feeling day to day. And that was impacting her relationship with her husband, her relationship with her children, her own business. She's an entrepreneur. And again, like I just said, a moment ago with my ideal client, we really just started at the basics. We stripped everything back and we went, okay, what are we looking at here, first of all? And why are you feeling this way? So I do, a very in-depth intake, looking at all of her history, including like all the way back to her own childhood, looking at like childhood trauma and things that have impacted her the way she responds in situations now, as well as labs, looking at specialty functional medicine labs to identify any physiological imbalances in her body so we can help to work to correct those. And then once we have that kind of clear idea of what's really going on, then we can start with the foundations: stress management, nutrition, lifestyle, sleep, moving your body, those sorts of things. And like I said, my signature program, the men's program, goes through all of that from start to finish. And then I use all of this somatic work. So I have, I don't know, dozens and dozens, I don't even know how many at this point, videos inside of the client portal now that they can access at any time with somatic experiencing, walking them through start to finish. How do you do this type of breath work? How do you do this type of EFT or somatic shaking or whatever it is, so that they can experience all those different types of somatic work, help like teach their nervous system that they can actually feel calm and process that emotion out of their body so that they can allow their body, their nervous system to go into that rest, digest, and heal, that parasympathetic, so that they actually can heal. And this particular client, obviously, we worked together for the last, I think we worked together for 6 months. Today was her last day, and absolute night and day difference. Healing is a journey. So it's not like she's just perfect and nothing ever stresses her out anymore. But the amount of awareness that she has around, all of the things really, but like specifically her relationship with people in her family, either by marriage or by blood, and how those relationships are impacting her own mental and physical health. Helping her learn to create boundaries while obviously being kind, but like establishing those firm boundaries. We're not going to cross this boundary because this is not good for me. And then also all the while teaching her all of the lifestyle things. So going to the grocery store, talking about like what is good food, what is not so good food, what is inflammatory, what is nourishing me, helping her put those pieces together where she can actually understand. She actually understands now, like, okay, I don't feel good if I eat XYZ. So I'm not going to eat those, or I'm going to limit that, and learning to actually, I always talk about the body connection. So reestablishing the connection from the mind to the body and the body back to the mind, because they're so interconnected. We spend so much of our time living up here that we're not actually understanding or even being aware or giving a value or awareness to the fact that like we actually feel physical feelings when things are happening. So I helped her reestablish that mind body connection, learn to trust herself, and build that relationship with herself, because really we are in relationship with other people, but the person that we have the most important relationship arguably is like the relationship with ourselves, because we're with ourselves 24/7. We can't get away. So yeah, she was very, very mean to herself. That was one thing that we worked on a lot, was like changing that narrative that she kept telling herself, that she she should be doing this, or she had to be this way. She had to show up this way in a relationship with somebody else because that's what they expected, when really it was really detrimental to her own health. Night and day difference, absolute complete transformation. It's incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love how you talked about awareness, because I think we're so busy and, like you said, so in our head all the time. We're scheduling things, we're working, we're planning things for our family, we're taking care of so much that I think we don't recognize or take the time to just stop and say, take a breath and say, how am I feeling and why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of it has to do with what we're putting in our mouth. A lot of it has to do with what we're thinking about, because I learned this not too long ago, actually, is that your body processes food differently depending on kind of what state it's in. It makes total sense, but it never crossed my mind that if you're full of anxiety and frustration, your body is trying to deal with that. And so when you're eating, it's not doing what it should do with the food.
The system is two pieces: your fight or flight, which is your sympathetic nervous system, or your rest, digest, and heal, which is your parasympathetic nervous system. When you are in fight or flight, which is like your body's response to being in face to face with a saber-toothed tiger, right? So like whether you're reading emails or stuck in traffic or actually face to face with a saber-toothed tiger, your body responds physiologically the same way. One of the physical things that happens when you're in that fight or flight is your body literally, your nervous system absolutely 100% turns off digestion, because digestion is not critical to survival when you're face to face with a saber-toothed tiger. Your nervous system is like, uh-oh, I better get away from this tiger. We don't care about digesting all the phytonutrients because you're about to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. So like really, frankly, it doesn't matter. We don't care about the nutrients right now. So if you just think like if you're reading emails and you're feeling stressed and you're eating, yeah, you're not digesting your food, because your body literally, your nervous system is telling your body not to do that right now, because it's not critical to survival.
If there's someone listening and they are at a critical point, can you just give them a couple tips, just a couple things to get started with so they can start thinking about feeling better?
So the first step is always awareness. So when you're thinking about, like if you have this like, oh, I don't feel good, or, oh, I have this XYZ symptom, or I wish I could, this, or I'm miserable in my life, or whatever it is, the first step is awareness and asking yourself, why? So just like genuine curiosity, not trying to fix the problem, change it, tell yourself that you shouldn't feel that way, or you have no right, or that trauma was 1,000 years ago. So why do I care anymore? Like, this isn't about judgment. So it's just like trying to understand yourself and what's going on. So being genuinely curious, asking yourself why, and then being open to the answer to that and seeking the truth and the answer behind what's got you into that place. Because a lot of times it's our habits, but a lot of times those habits are a direct result of our past, the things that we've experienced. We've gotten into these habits because we were exposed to toxins and traumas and all of these things, maybe last year, maybe 5 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. And we have these responses in our body, these trauma responses that shape your current reality. And so that's the first step, 100% first step, awareness. Second step, I always say, is working to reestablish that mind-body connection. Like, you just, pointed out, we're just kind of in this 2025 on the date of this recording. We have this constant stimulation, notifications, fluorescent lights. We're sitting in front of a computer all day. We're just go, go, go. Our to-do list is 1,000 miles long. We can never get to the end of it. Johnny's got to go to soccer practice. We have laundry on the floor. We have dinner to make. We have all these things, right? And we never take a second to just breathe. Slow down, breathe, and work to reestablish that mind-body connection, to understand how you're physically feeling inside of your body, because we're living so much in our head because we have so much to do all the time. So the mind-body connection is something that's kind of lost in our society right now. Trying to help people reestablish that connection all the time. The bridge between the mind and the body is the breath. That's the bridge. So just when you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed or stressed out, or if you notice that you are just running 1,000 miles a minute and you haven't stopped, that awareness is the first step, but then the action is the second step. So making yourself a priority in that moment. I don't care how busy you are. You have 30 seconds to stop and take a breath, and you deserve the 30 seconds to stop and take a breath. The other thing that happens when we're in fight or flight is we tend to hyperventilate. We breathe really fast. Again, because of survival, right? It's important for us to be able to get away from the saber-toothed tiger. So just stopping for just 30 seconds, closing your eyes if you can. Don't do that if you're driving, but closing your eyes and just taking a couple deep breaths actually can move you from sympathetic nervous system into parasympathetic, into that rest, digest, and heal. It can bring down your stress. It can bring down your anxiety. It can bring down your cortisol, your heart rate, all the stress hormones. It's so integral. Just feeling better.
I love that. We sometimes do what we call a mind dump. When you've got all these things going on and all these things are happening, and then you stop. And to your point, you were saying, why do I feel this way? Well, sometimes it helps me, I know, to just write out everything that's going through my head. And then I just feel like, I don't know, it's been lifted out of my body, and then I can deal with it. Because sometimes it's not as much as you thought, or it just needs some organization, or you need to outsource, if you will, that to someone else. So I find that's really helpful.
I love that.
So how would you like people to reach out to you if they're saying, Melissa, I feel that way and I want you to help me through it? How should they reach out to you?
So my website is holistichealthbymelissa.com. And then you can find me on all social media platforms, Holistic Health by Melissa. I also have a podcast, Holistic Health with Melissa. So you can find me on any of those. Shoot me a message. I answer my own emails and DMs. So I love chatting with people. I'm an open book. Happy to help.
Wonderful. So last question for you is, if you could provide the world one tip to make it a better place, what would that be?
Tip, and my kind of slogan, what I always tell people is healing is always possible. I think that I hear from a lot of people a lot, and I went through this myself, where the doctors are like, yep, you have anxiety. You're going to be on these pills for the rest of your life. This is just who you are. This is the way it's going to be for the rest of your life. And I just don't believe it. I just don't think it's true. It doesn't matter the diagnosis, your history, your past, what the doctor said. I don't care about any of it. Healing is always possible. Always.
What a wonderful way to end this conversation. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today. I feel like I have some important tips and things in my pocket that when that anxiety and craziness builds up, that I can go to. So thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.